off camera when we were just talking, you talked about being a teacher.
Yep.
Right from the get-go. Like that's your mind, and I'm married to a teacher, and that's the same thing. And as you know, when you're married to anybody who's in the teaching business, you have every single friend as a teacher as a result, right? So all of these people I know have always wanted to be a teacher. So what makes teaching so fascinating and so intriguing for people, and what makes them kind of like lock in, say, this is literally going to be my identity moving forwards?
Right. Yeah. And it is your identity. If you choose to be a teacher, that is what you become. That's who you are. For me, what made it so intriguing was the idea that I could take a student that doesn't know something and teach it to them and literally watch, maybe not literally, but watch that light bulb go off. And you could think like, I did that. I taught you that. You run into me 10 years from now and you tell me I still remember that from science class because it stuck. And you're like, that's why you do it. And especially the kids that struggle. School was never my strong suit. I did well enough, obviously, to become a teacher, but I do feel like I was a better teacher because I struggled. So I can take those students that, aren't top of the class and find their niche and find their talent and foster that. So, yeah. And then why would I walk away from that feeling, That's a tough thing to stop doing, right? So, yeah.
Do you find that because of how you were as a student, like that was really the ultimate driver that led you to that? Like because there comes a point where people are asked, like, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? Like at that point you were like, I'm going to be a teacher. Was it because you saw teaching and thought, I can do this better, or I can help them make this better?
I think it was more so that I was successful when I had a great teacher. And if I look to how I teach, it's very similar to the teachers that I fell in love with. As a struggling student, they were able to pull my strengths out of me. And I was happy to be able to offer that to students, almost giving back, right? Like giving back to students that were just like me. So
I love that. The learning part has always been difficult for me. Like I always have to go through and be very kind of, I have to do it to learn it.
Right.
And I think that a good teacher can draw that out of a student and say, like try doing it this way versus like letting them continue kind of pushing against the same thing. Like just try this and try that.
And teachers have this strategy, and I fully believe in it. You could do this with your own kids too, right? If you ask them a question and if they don't have the answer right away, count to 10 in your head before you help them. Because it gives them time to process it before you just jump in and, well, here's the solution. Here's how you're going to figure this out. No, count to 10 in your head. Give them a second to process it and see if they come up with an answer before you kind of jump in and give them a crutch,
I really like that because I use it in interviews, and you've been interviewed, so you know that I do this where I'll deliberately let a space grow.
Yeah.
And then that person feels the need to fill that space.
Yes.
And then their brain goes into active mode and actually starts talking more and kind of reveals more. And that's kind of like an interview technique. I talk about silence being a
So
powerful
you're not
thing.
trying to make me feel uncomfortable. You are.
Probably. Just a little bit.
Just a little uncomfortable.
I think in order to change, you need to be a little bit uncomfortable.
Right.
And I think that in order to get past, because there's always these layers, right? Like in conversations, we have like the surface layer, like, hey, how's the kids? What's going on? And then as we dive deeper, it's like you're revealing more. And then in your mind, the vulnerability starts questioning, right?
Right.
Like, am I revealing too much? Am I talking too much? Am I doing all of these, the angry little gnomes in the back of your mind start talking, right?
Or if your child asks you a question about something, instead of just giving them the answer, asking them, well, what do you think about that? Obviously, you're interested in it because you're asking me, what are your thoughts before you hear mine? Develop your own opinion before I give you mine. Yeah.
I love that because kids, as a rule of thumb, want it just handed to them.
Yeah.
So they don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
But by giving them that space, it's just allowing them to really take the power of their own decisions.
Yes.
And then make those right choices.
Yep.
Because I've seen, especially, and I don't know if it's just getting older as a parent, but I've seen the difference in how people parent.
Okay.
And like you've got like the different styles of parenting, right? And
Right.
you've got the ones that will absolutely go and bulldoze through everything.
Yes.
And be like, this is the way it's supposed to be. do this,
Yep.
you know, and then you got the ones that will literally hand it to their kids and be like, here, take this job, do this, you know, like
Right.
they'll literally give them the blueprint to
Yeah.
it versus letting the kid figure it out, because that kid, when it gets out into the big wild world, and
Yes.
as an adult, has to do that by
Yes.
themselves. And that's
Yeah.
a hard lesson to learn when you're an adult.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a bulldozer too, though.
Okay.
Right? We're running out of time. It's go, 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 right?
Yep.
So I do, if that shoe is not getting tied fast enough, does it take all my strength not to just jump in and just tie it quickly? Or, my husband will say, make sure you let them possibly have some errors, like everything doesn't have to be perfect. How are they going to learn if I just do everything for them, right?
Yeah.
So I have to learn that as well, right? I love driving a bulldozer and just taking charge, right?
Just get done.
Yeah. But how are they going to learn, right?
Yeah.
I've got a teenager that's 3 years away from moving out and going to college, right? I can't do everything for him. He's got to learn it all. So
it's a really weird age, because my oldest Elodie is 17.
Mhm.
And so she'll be 18 this summer. And I said to her, I'm like, this is the weirdest age you're going to be in.
Right.
Because everyone's going to treat you like you're an adult,
Okay.
but they're going to look at you and see a child.
Yep.
But they can't make that distinction yet, because
Yes.
you're still acting like a child. So you have to go past that. And so you can see her sitting there going like, but what does that look like? I'm like, I can't help you with that.
Yeah.
Like, that's on you. And that's scary,
Good
because it's
luck.
like, bye.
Yeah.
It's like, now it's time to fly. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah.
And you have to trust that you've brought them up in a way where they will be successful with speed bumps, right? But you brought them up in a certain way where they will be successful.
Yeah.
You have to trust that.
Yeah.
You have to believe it.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk about I call it like your inflex point, because you were teaching, and then something came along that basically upset the apple cart. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, I was a teacher for, I just put a round number on it, 10, 12 years. And then in the middle of a year, right around Christmas time, I ended up being diagnosed with cancer, stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I had to, that day, pack up my bag and left a note for the kids on the door, or on the blackboard, saying like, you'll be fine, I'll be back, and needed to start treatment right away. It was pretty aggressive. It was everywhere. So it was kind of a get up and go situation. So all of a sudden, you're leaving your what I did every day, all day, to then fight for your life kind of thing. So, yeah.
What goes through your mind during that moment?
Well, it's terrifying. You always think, you hear cancer and it's everywhere, unfortunately, but you never think it would happen to you. And I know that sounds so cliche, but really, does anyone sit down and say, well, I'll probably get cancer? No, you think you're immune. You're a healthy individual. You've never had any other medical history that would cause that, so it was a bit of a shock. Yeah. Scary situation. And then imagining going into, chemo treatments and radiation and just everything piled on top, it's a lot. It's a lot. It felt like just like, a lot. Yeah.
How do you break that news to your loved ones?
Yeah, slowly, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of a heads up, like I had a lump in my groin area, which was just in a lymph node that was cancerous. And so it was kind of like a heads up, we're getting this biopsied, right? So it was always in the back of our minds, like, oh yeah, this could possibly be the worst. But so slowly, which I think was the best way to do it. The only ones that we didn't talk too slowly about it was our children, who were maybe 8 and 3 at the time, because we wanted to be sure of what we didn't want to make them worry if they didn't have to. So that was, I remember telling my 8-year-old that I had cancer, and he ran away from me. And we told him, and he ran, he bolted, and he hid. And it was like his way of dealing with it was I did not expect that. I expected the embrace, that kind of thing. He was angry, Mind you, his only experience of cancer up to that point was a child his age who had passed away from cancer.
Yeah.
So in that 8-year-old's brain, it was cancer means death. So he ran away from it, kind of thing. So, yeah. So that was obviously a shock to him. But then, the nice thing about kids is they can be a little bit naive, and you can say something like, they have medicine for me, though, right? They have chemotherapy. We will get through it.
Yeah.
So
during this time, and the reason I bring up teaching first is because I find there's a special identity that teachers have.
Mm-hmm.
And after chemo, you emerge and no longer a teacher.
Yep.
At what point did you realize that teaching was the past you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, was it a kind of an aha moment, or was it just like, I just can't do this? Like, walk me through that, because that to me, especially as someone who knows teachers really well, it's in their blood.
Yeah.
It's like, it's there. So like, what makes you change like a 180 on your identity in that manner?
Yeah. And a lot of teachers we feel like we can leave. We're allowed to leave. And that's because it becomes who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I would almost all of my waking hours would be thinking about these children that I'm spending time with. And, you send them home after a school day and you worry about them. And if they're eating well and if they're being treated well at home, it fully consumes you. So to have that identity and then change that identity is a bit of a slow process. Actually, so it's funny now that I'm more in the artist world.
Mm-hmm.
If someone asks me not that long ago, what do you do? What do you do for work? And I answered teacher. And my husband looked at me and goes, no, you're not. I'm like, well, kind of.
Yeah.
I think, and I think you just always identify with that.
Yeah.
So I've had to shift and sort of, the mindset of you can be something different. And honestly, Ash, I kind of forget your question now too a little bit.
No, I was good. Like I was asking about like when you change like when something happens that changes your identity so severely there.
Yes, yeah.
Right, like it changed it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the, what part of that disappeared? Like, are you still an educator at heart?
Yes. Yeah. I think I will always be an educator at heart. And then also going through chemotherapy, that kind of thing, do I think that I could take care of 30 children with the same momentum that I did when I was before getting sick? I don't know if I could. It's, I believe it's Dr. Siegel who talks about the window of tolerance. And the window of tolerance is how much you can mentally, physically handle. And as a result of chemo, radiation, years of just mentally dealing with a cancer diagnosis, and I had a stem cell transplant, like it was just layer upon layer upon layer of just exhausting months. My window of tolerance, we've figured out, it is shrinking or has shrunk.
Yeah. So you have a smaller window now. Yeah.
What's that?
So the window is considerably smaller?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you then have to have strategies to deal with the idea of being pushed outside of my window of tolerance. Have I lost a bit of patience? Yes. Have I, can I go into overwhelming situations and handle them as well as I did in the past? No. I'm fully aware of it and have strategies to sort of get through it. So an example, right, is, I've never really loved grocery shopping, okay? But now that I know my window of tolerance is smaller, I find it actually quite overwhelming and have to sort of take a deep breath if the grocery store is busy or if I can't find something. And it seems so kind of childish to say that, but I also firmly believe that when you've gone through trauma, your tolerance level is only so high, and you do need strategies to get through those overwhelming moments. So going back to teaching, you need a big window of tolerance to teach 30 children. 30, usually I would teach 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, kind of that grade 6, 7, 8 age group. You need some tolerance for that age group. And so right now, in the mental state that I am at with, a bit of increased anxiety, lower tolerance, that it doesn't give me the balance that I want in my life right now. I think it would be very lopsided, and I'd have to put so much energy into tolerating the day and doing as well as I want to for those kids during the day.
Yeah.
The balance wouldn't be there for the rest of my life, for the other parts of my life, so like my own children and my husband and that kind of thing.
Have you ever heard of zero-sum theory in the brain?
No.
So zero-sum theory is this, is your brain is like a generator, or it generates, or a battery, has only so much energy, right? So if you dedicate energy to one side, like really put energy in it, you lose energy on the other sides.
Yep.
Right. And so this is why you get some people who are phenomenal at math, but suck at talking to people.
Right.
You get people all over the place that have these unique skills that have, been out. And we even talked about prior where, did you get tired after doing like your podcast, like 3 podcasts in a row? It's like, you get exhausted because all of that shifted energy, right? So like the tolerance window kind of aligns nicely with that, where it shows like, depending on the energy that you have there, you have to divvy it up, right? And if you're a mother, you have responsibilities. If you're a wife, you have responsibilities. If you're a homeowner, all of these responsibilities stack, right? And the key to making that tolerance window bigger is to remove as many layers as you can so that you can do it, right? So before, where your tolerance window was like here, you could do all of those things plus teach. Now it's just down to like, where it is now, right? So, and it's unique in how people work.
Yes.
Right. And so I've had that moment where I've literally stood in the grocery store and like looked at Trish and been like, I'm done. Like, I know we're halfway through, but let's just cash out. Because I'm so overwhelmed and so tired.
Right.
Right. And it's like any large groups and stuff like that does that to me. And, it's difficult. Right. So the energy distribution is a hard kind of thing.
Perfect sense. Yeah. And I am working very hard at not seeing it as being sort of a failure. Yeah. Right. To be very good at teaching. I do feel like I was a great teacher. In fact, I ran into a student that I taught maybe right at the start of teaching, and he's now an adult and working full time, and he's knows my journey, but he says, I'm actually shocked that you aren't teaching right now. He's like, you were one of my favorite teachers. And that hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, like how did I walk away from that, And then having a conversation with a friend, my hairdresser actually, she said, do you know it's okay to be really good at something and also walk away from it? It's okay to be good at it and choose not to do it because you need to figure out that balance in your life.
That kind of hit me because I've always been a photographer.
Yeah.
Since like...
I've seen your stuff. It's magnificent.
And to me, that was my identity and that was who I was. But then over the past few years, in order to grow a creative community, I've had to choose what to let go. And the thing that got me there is the thing that I've had to start letting go of. Yeah. And that saying it's okay to let go of that is wonderful. It's because it's so difficult because you're good at it and it's a comfort zone. Yeah. Right. And you can be like, yep, I know this like the back of my hand. Yeah. Right. But now it's like I'm stepping into things where I don't know how this works. Right. I don't know how to do this. Yeah. I don't know the best way of doing this. Yeah. Because
you're getting uncomfortable.
I'm getting uncomfortable. Yeah. It's like, that's tough. And I think it actually is a really tricky thing to come to terms with. Right. And whether it be for, a rebirth of your identity or whether it be a, changing a career despite the fact that you love that career and because you just see an opportunity somewhere else that you want to try. I find it's all an awareness of time. Yep. And your awareness of time, I know personally from my mom passing away when she was 58. She died of cancer. Yep. And I became acutely aware of time. Okay. Like I was like, okay, if I pass away at 58, I have this much time. Right. Right? Which I kind of gave, and I know it's kind of ridiculous. It's not supposed to be a marker, but it just makes me really aware. So I don't like to spend too much time on things that don't really move me towards where I want to do or get me to what I want to do. Right. So in my case, like I love spending time with the family. Yeah. So I'll protect that time as much as possible. Yep. Or like I'd love the creative community, so I'll protect that time as much as possible and just really focus in on that.
Yep.
Like, do you find that your time awareness has changed post-cancer?
Yes. I am frustrated, though, that it took trauma to realize that. Same in your case.
Yep.
Having your mother pass away kind of was like, open your eyes to the possibility that this gift of life that we're given might not be here forever.
Yeah.
I am a little frustrated that it took trauma to teach me that, though.
Yeah.
I truly believe that I am a better person now than I was before I was sick. It's frustrating that it took cancer, though, to do that. It shouldn't take the possible chance of dying to teach you to be a better person, but it does. You just become a more aware of time. Yes, like I'm now doing something where I work from home and I can spend all my time with my kids. I don't have to miss a sporting event. I can get them off the school bus. I can make them a snack. I can make them dinner. I'm always there if I want to be, and that's special. Special that I get to do that. Very fortunate, right? And then just relationships, right? Like, did I get closer with my parents when I was sick? Yes. They came and they would live with us for a week and take care of me and drive me to chemotherapy. And, but unfortunately, it took cancer to do that, which, is a little disappointing,
That's
right?
true.
But not because it's been great. Even my children, because I was so sick and often in bed for days at a time, they got to spend a lot of time with both sets of grandparents. And that was just luxury for them, right? So, did it make me more aware? Did trauma make me more aware of this gift of life? For sure.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I don't want people to think that I am just on cloud nine every day loving. No, like I still have crappy days too. And no, I don't feel like making you dinner, like make your own dinner, but so I'm not saying that, every day is this gift of life, but
it's like an ebb and flow, right?
Yeah. I'm still a realistic person, but even like, when my husband gets a cold or something and and it's kind of like, oh, you'll be fine, or, the little things where I'm like, usually that would be such a big deal, but now it's kind of like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like we've dealt with bigger things. We'll be okay.
That. I have a quote that often gets like truncated down. But I'm going to read you the kind of the quote that everyone like hears and then the actual original. Because the original's, how there's like people say like the jack of all trades and then it's kind of truncated down and the longer version is way better. So it's Anne Lamott who said, hope begins in the dark. Right? But the whole thing is hope begins in the dark, the stubborn hope that if you just show up and try to do the right thing, the dawn will come.
Yep. Yeah.
So as you were progressing through your illness, what point was that transition to, I want to make something? And because you're going from educator to creator, which are two different kind of like mindsets, but they're very much in parallel.
Yep.
So when did you start to realize I need to create? And, I know you work a lot with like reclaimed wood, so I definitely want to be discussing that too. So
yeah. No, it kind of started because when you're home between treatments, I knew mentally I didn't want to just become like a Netflix junkie, and I needed to keep busy with something. At the same time, right? Your budget is a bit smaller when we've got a lot to pay for in terms of getting to the hospital and just taking care of all the things that come with being ill. I knew I wanted to make my own Christmas decor. Like it started so small. Wanted to make my own Christmas decor. I think my dad made me a couple trees, and I remember looking at them, and I love them. I put them out every year, but I thought I think I can make them a bit prettier. And
because your dad's in landscape, is that correct?
My dad was a contractor. He's a retired. Yeah, he built houses, so very skilled at building. But I felt like, well, I want to built that. I think I could do it. And it honestly started with, I really had to make a lot of phone calls to him saying, okay, so I'm going to use this saw. Like, am I doing this safely? Or like, what's the best tool for this? And then it just grew from there. A lot of people say, oh, you're so talented, like, I can't believe you can make stuff like that. And the quote that I'm kind of remembering is, and I know it's kind of like cringy for artists to quote Bob Ross, but he was everywhere, right?
Yep.
But his quote was, talent is a pursued interest. So I actually feel like anyone could do what I'm doing if they were to pursue it. They're like, I could never do what you do. I'm like, you literally could. It's a couple YouTube videos and a call to your dad and, and have some color theory, like it's a pursued interest. I really enjoyed my working with my hands. So, and my doctor even noticed it. He said, you're doing something, it's keeping your body busy, it's keeping your mind busy, whatever it is, keep doing it because it's working. You've got, you're building strength, you're mentally just, you seem happy and fulfilled. He said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So, so I ended up building using reclaimed materials. So there's that belief too that, we've got so much that goes to landfills and so much that we just dispose of.
Yeah.
And some of it's so beautiful if used in the right way. So I love taking materials that are otherwise destined for that landfill and turning it into art. And it started out as, learning from my dad over the phone, FaceTime, like setting him up beside the miter saw and like, am I doing this right? And then now it's, he'll see me using a certain tool and he goes, well, I don't have that tool. I need that tool, so.
Love that. I mean, you've taken a moment in time where, you were asked to survive and then you turned it into, I'm going to start to thrive as well, which is that always, anytime we have those two things that kind of go hand in hand, it gets me kind of really interested. I want to dive deeper in. So what point did you turn around? Like, was there a point during chemo where you're like, I got to do something?
Yes. Yeah, you become, I lost my hair twice through different treatment, grew back, and then I lost it again because of a stem cell transplant. You are a walking chemo patient. That becomes your identity, right? And that is really not what I wanted to be known for. It was that idea of walking into the hockey arena, for example, and seeing people kind of go, oh, there's that woman with cancer.
Because you have the
I never really liked to. I lost all my hair twice. I didn't really like to cover my head. I just kind of owned it. And honestly, part of it was my face looked really sick. Like you get this, you're on so many steroids. I ended up having what they call as the moon face. I was so swollen. So visibly I looked sick anyways. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to like a bald head, sorry, Ash, is like, oh, that woman has cancer, And so it's kind of like, you don't even have to ask me. It's pretty obvious, you know? But now it's neat to walk into a hockey arena, to use that example again. And instead of being like, oh, there's that woman that had cancer, it's, oh, there's Lumberjack, my business name. And so that's like, I've developed this image for myself that was beyond just a cancer patient, you know? And it's neat hearing from people how that's motivating to them, right? Seeing someone who, bottom of the bottom, like I felt at one point, like, I don't think I'm going to survive this. You're laying in a hospital bed and you're making yourself feel okay with, I might not survive. And then to now come out of that with this brand that I've built as, I don't want to say as a result, but.
Well, it's like a rebirth of your personality. And then you're using reclaimed wood too, which just like, how poetic is that?
Yeah, it's the idea of the history of these materials. They're not flawed, A woman or individual that has gone through trauma is not flawed, right? We get to rebuild
Yeah.
based off of those flaws, based off of the history.
It's like kitsugi. I think it's kitsugi where if you break a pot, I think it's a Japanese tradition.
Right.
They actually fix the ceramic like cup or teacup with some gold paint.
Right.
And they seal it together and you get these beautiful line work
Colored.
of like, it's just like just gold. And
Yeah.
the piece that comes back together is often more beautiful than what it was before it was broken.
Right.
And so that's, we can use it as a simile for your life where you've got this more beautiful life that's occurred from going through this trauma, right? So
yeah. So the idea of not fixing the pot, for example, to make it look like it wasn't broken.
Exactly.
Yeah, they embraced. I know, and that's the same with reclaimed wood. Yeah. I will often make sure to incorporate an old nail hole, knowing that way back when someone put that nail through there, and I don't want to. I'm incorporating that, right? It's not a flaw.
No.
Right.
When I've seen you tear down a barn, and so like I've seen you how you go through it, and you're like that.
Yeah.
So you're kind of looking. Are you looking for flaws?
Yeah, looking for that character, that age, the flaws, the nail holes. If it looks too perfect, it's almost like it's more work for me to make it look fantastic, right? I'm definitely looking for that character. Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't that funny? Looking for the flaws.
Looking for the flaws. I love that because, I mean, I work in media and often our whole goal is to make it look as good as possible. And like you walk onto a set like this and there's lights everywhere and there's cameras everywhere.
Yep.
And, my team's done an incredible job of making this place look as good as it does, right? Mm-hmm. And often we just say, just bring out the natural beauty that's in the place. Right. And just go from that. And that
don't fight against
it. Right. So like finding the thing that actually makes it characterful and unique often is those things that didn't go right.
Yeah.
And there's things that didn't go wrong, like that nail hole was put there and then had to get changed at some point. Like they put something up there and then they had to move something and that stayed there. It's like a mark, right? And like it's just the character is through the years and years of changes.
Yes.
Through turmoils or not, and it's like that's the fact that you create art from character is that's what makes your art so unique and so beautiful because two pieces are never going to be the same, period. Because there's no way it could be that way, right? And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's the idea that reclaimed art, you can't consume it quickly, right? Any art, you hope that it slows people down, and especially reclaimed art. My goal is that people slow down and want to go towards it and look at it closely for all of those details, all of those flaws that I've now used in a way that, has purpose.
Huh.
Yeah.
I said to Brady this week, I'm like, slow is the new rich.
Yeah.
Like if you're able to do something slowly, it shows that you have, the time. And you have whatever it is to enjoy it, right? And that's a richness. So like the slow is the richness.
Yeah, yeah. So get out of my bulldozer,
right?
Once in a while,
and just slow it down. And like why do you think that is so important? Like for you specifically, working with your hands, because you could have chosen painting, right? You could have chosen anything. You could have been, any kind of digital artist, but you chose physical.
Yeah,
like why? Why was that? Was that to get out of your head?
Yeah. It was to find another purpose to focus on. So I wanted to, kind of step away from focusing on the next treatment and focus on something totally different, right? And honestly, Ash, it just felt a bit badass. Like, if you're in a workshop with a bunch of tools and they're really loud and really aggressive, that feels pretty cool, that you're able to do that, especially as a female. And there's so many female woodworkers, and I don't even align myself with them. They're so talented. But it's badass for a female to pick up a big saw and make it do what it does, right? Like that's a feeling of victory, right? Yeah. Like it's a neat, fulfilling feeling. Yeah.
It's very conquering, right? So like it's like this is what I do, right? How much time do you spend on each art piece, do you think?
Oh, it varies, and I always underestimate how much time I'm going to spend on it. I am also a bit of a perfectionist, and have expectations for myself.
Mhm.
It's so difficult. When I go to price something, there's certain things like I make these reclaimed wood feathers. And those I price by a formula because I do have a general idea of how much time it's going to take me to build one.
Yep.
But then there's other art pieces where, if it's a custom order and they just kind of set me free to
Yeah.
do my thing. And it's tough for me to say, well, I think this is going to take me about this time. I don't have a clue, But is that maybe what they've also hired me for? Is to just create, and however long it takes, it is what it is. It is tough though, because I'll quote a certain amount and then I go to build it and it might take twice as long. And then you learn for next time how to price it more appropriately. And so it's a bit of a learning curve. I don't like to rush projects, right? Because that's whenever I feel like it's not my best work. So yes, you get to the point where you're almost at the end. I'm sure you guys have this with editing, for example, where you're like, we're so close to being done editing this, and you just tweak it I've seen you guys set up, and it's never just, Brady's never just, that light there is good enough.
Yeah.
It looks fine. No. He's like, can you just shift it and turn it, and it's like, holy smokes, Brady. Like,
Yep.
it's fine.
It's just a light ray.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. But, right, are we, you want the best. It's your work. You're showcasing what you can do. So is it good to kind of slow down, take your time, and make it the best version it can be?
So how do you marry your perfectionism with fully embracing the flaws?
Yeah. I guess it's more so that I have found the perfect material to work with.
Fair.
The flaws are perfect. It's what makes my work stand out from someone else's.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still see perfectionism in them because it's me hunting. I think there was a cow that I made out of reclaimed wood, and I hunted for the perfect knot in the wood to be the eyeball.
Yeah.
And most woodworkers, you would normally avoid knots because, it might warp or what have you. But in my case, I was hunting, and I had this stack of wood that I was using, and I was like, nope, hunting for the perfect flaw.
I love that because for most artists, they seek perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're driving to that perfection, like the perfect version of whatever their craft is.
Right.
And you're sitting there acquiescing the fact that it's the broken parts that make it.
Right.
That is the perfection in itself. And like that can be kind of almost like a parallel to kind of rebuilding a life. Right? Where you're just like, you know what? Stuff happens.
Yeah.
But we have to deal with it. Right.
Yeah.
And we embrace it or we don't. And I think that's where I see the beauty in your art is like you take such care in making sure it's perfectly imperfect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to say that. I know I was, while you're speaking there, I'm thinking of, painters that I like. And I'm not often drawn to realism. So man, these people are skilled. Like they are true artists. I'm actually not drawn to put up artwork that looks too real.
Yeah.
That could have been a photograph. Not saying that those people aren't talented. They're extremely talented. But I am more drawn to artwork that I can see the paintbrush strokes.
Yes.
Because then I know, like, wow, like even though an artist might say, well, that's the flaw right there. You can see the stroke. I'm like, no, that shows that you painted it. And I can step back and I can see it beautifully,
And you can see which stage they're at too, right? Like you can kind of gauge and be like, they're still on the journey of this.
Yeah.
Right? Like when it's like, you see them as they've mastered it. It's like, it's just too perfect.
Right.
And it's unattainable, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
and then relating that back to us as people, if I go on, I also consider myself a content creator now. And do my followers appreciate it more when I'm just myself? Yes. Compared to, if I'm all done up and everything's scripted. And no, they much more enjoy Jacquie just being herself and saying these random things. And, it just resonates with them better. So do they enjoy that more? Do the flaws that I have actually, are they more interesting?
The hardest part of being a content creator is accepting the fact that you are the thing that people are watching and listening to and relating to. And I find the more effort I put into the content, the worse it does.
Yeah.
But then like the ones where I'm like picking up, and like we did a reel the other day where Brady's like, oh, quickly record this, walk through it, like 5 minutes, done.
Yeah.
And it did really, really well. And I think people don't want real, like they don't want like real fabricated. They want real.
Yeah.
Right? They want to see, like, oh, this is actually, he's learning, he's doing this, he's doing that, versus, he's got it all together.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, it's too unattainable at that point.
Yeah.
Right? I think that when we start embracing the fact that the people are probably just showing up because they want to show support, because they want to hear more, or they're just curious, right?
Yeah.
And like that's the hard part as the creator, because like creators often hide behind something.
Yep.
Right? So like, at what point did you decide that I'm not going to hide behind my art, my woodworking, I'm going to film it? In fact, you started filming pretty early in the right?
Yep.
Like while you were still learning, or had you learned enough and then you're like, I'm going to start filming now?
No, as I was learning, I guess what I thought of was, who do I enjoy watching on social media, and kind of diving deep into what makes them so enjoyable for me to watch. And it was just them being just very candid and real. So I knew that early on that for me to have a presence here, I just needed to be myself.
Okay.
And maybe I wasn't so good at creating content, so it ended up having flaws, But I have other woodworkers that message me and say like, why does your stuff sell so well and mine isn't? And I go straight to, I haven't seen you on your social media in a long time, like you have to show your face. And they'll say, well, my shop, it's like literally a dirt floor and like it's like a quarter the size of your garage. I'm like, yeah, show that.
Show that.
That's super inspiring, like show those realistic sides of you, right? I do agree though. I was creating content for, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, like a large box store, a Canadian store.
Sure, yeah.
They hired me to make some content for them. And those videos were tough because they wanted a certain script.
Yep.
And I had to try and give that script as, realistically as possible. But really, it was a script, and I was trying to sell a product for them. And so did those do as well? No. Do I? If an ad pops up, it's obviously a, how do you call if you're being paid for
like a branded content?
Yeah, if it's branded content, I'm most likely just to swipe.
Which is funny, isn't it? I love the fact, and this seems to be ubiquitous, and maybe you can shed your kind of opinion on this too, and it's in regards to AI.
Yeah.
Right, so AI has been in the forefront of like the last like 18 months, where people have been like, it's amazing. You can see Will Smith eating, whatever. And it's like, now it's got to the point where it's indiscernible. But as a result, there's like a revulsion that's happening in the public where they're like, AI.
Yeah.
Where they're almost going against, like, if it's a brand using AI specifically to build the creative, they kind of, they push it away.
Yeah.
And like that to me is like, as a filmmaker, I find it very fascinating, because to me, I look at AI going, it's just another tool. Right? Just the same way as a digital camera is a digital camera from film cameras. But this is different because you're kind of outsourcing the creative, which is the part that makes it human.
Right.
And it doesn't matter how good it looks, right? Because it can look really perfect.
Yes.
But if it doesn't have that human soul, those flaws, those problems, right? Like the parts that you can relate to, then no one cares. And the people that end up watching AI stuff are usually people who like to make the AI stuff. But the people that are actually buying are not.
Yeah.
And that to me is a really interesting dynamic that's happened. I've never seen that in media ever.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Where there's like a complete 180
Yep.
on a medium, right? Because like you can say like, I don't like stop motion.
Yeah.
Or I don't like this, but it still worked.
Yeah.
There's still people who enjoyed it, but this seems to be ubiquitous across
Yeah.
the public, right?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I also see it as a tool.
Yeah.
And I think because it's so massive, AI is so popular that if we run away from it and avoid it, then
That's foolish.
yeah.
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 I just think it needs to be used in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like any tool, right? Like you're not going to use your power drill
Right.
for everything,
Yes.
right? It's like it's a tool for a very specific thing, right? So
Yep.
that's partially why I think when people see it, especially in the the media sphere, that they just don't get it. They're just like, that's cool, and it's nice, And I think the same is with the branded content with creators.
Yep.
It's tricky, right? Because you want to make sure that your content merges nicely.
Yes.
And like as someone who runs a creative agency, we get people who contact us and say, we want to do this. We see what you do. We want to do this. And so, but that comes from a place of vulnerability.
Yes.
And it comes from a place of wanting to create and not so much caring about the results, more caring about the process and the building it. Like Brady and I both have this concept of be undeniable, which is go out there and just be who you are, no matter what, right? Like just be undeniable.
Yeah.
Right. And that to me is more powerful than sitting there saying, okay, we want to inject this specific thing into this to try and get people to go and buy this or to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. And I'm thinking too, I think one of my, on Instagram, for example, one of my highest viewed reels is, I meant to check it this morning, but a month ago, I checked it. It was over 2.5 million views. It blew up. Like I had to turn off notifications on my phone. It was
insane.
Too much, right?
Yeah.
But that video starts with me saying, well, I made a mistake. Right? And I knew that was a good hook.
That's your hook, yeah.
I knew it was going to be a good hook.
Yeah.
I spent like that reel, if I look back, it's not even in focus. Like I did not spend time. Do I regret not spending time on it? Yes. But it ended up blowing up. And it also frustrated people because they, didn't agree with the mistake or at the end of the video, I didn't show the final product, honestly, because it wasn't built yet.
Yeah.
I had to still build it.
I'm still working on it.
It blew up. But isn't it funny that, a video that went viral was me admitting that I did make a mistake. I didn't ask enough questions to a client for their custom order and ended up building it incorrectly.
Oh no.
And they, I was able to sell that piece as well, but I had to start over and make sure it was what they actually wanted. So admitting that I made a mistake, people just latched onto that and it took off. So that was really interesting to see how a not in focus video that was not scripted and me admitting failure, but went viral. It was pretty neat to watch.
Yeah. I think failure is underestimated, right? Like, especially when it comes to people and getting to where they want to go.
Right.
Right? Is we've associated failure with a negative thing.
Right.
And I try to reframe it all the time in my own brain and in my kids' brains especially.
Yeah.
I'll just say, go and rack up as many no's as possible.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So like, instead of saying, go out there and do this, is like, what? Like my oldest is trying to get a job right now and she's going out and it's a really tough market to find a job. So it's like, just go out and get as many no's as possible.
Yeah.
Like I want you to go out and try and fail.
Okay.
Right? And they're like, well, that makes no sense. I'm like, no, because if you can figure out how many failures it takes to get to a positive, now you have a metric to work with.
Right.
It's like, okay, so I need 5 no's to get to 1 maybe.
Yeah.
And I need 10 no's to get to 1 yes.
Right.
Right. So go out there and get 10 no's.
And is failure growth?
Yeah.
Learning from it or.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another example of that in the teaching world is I remember teaching math and, I'd ask for the answer, but before I ask for the correct answer, I would say, oh, I hope someone gets it wrong. Because if someone gets it wrong, then we get to figure out why they got it wrong. And that would help us more than just knowing the right answer. And it became like a whole joke, like, again, every question, put up, but only give me the wrong answer. Like, I don't even want to know the right answer yet. And then, a lot of them were feeling like, well, I can answer because she doesn't even care if I'm right,
Yeah.
And so the idea of that failure will teach us how to get to the right answer. It will teach us where did we go wrong to get that wrong answer, and how can we now fix that to now get to the right answer.
Do you think that has the group appeal?
Has what, sorry?
Do you think that has the group appeal? Like being able to, you know, try and fail together?
Yeah, not for my type A students. You
No.
know, they were like, what? There's no failure in my
Because they literally
world.
sit there and if they don't get it right the first time, then it's a wash.
But did they also enjoy the challenge of teaching their classmates, well, here's how to get you to the right answer, you know? Yeah. Yeah. So was every student in that classroom able to contribute, even if they were contributing a wrong answer?
Yeah.
They were contributing and then learning from their peers that had the right answer, right?
So your window of tolerance has shrunk, which usually means you're looking for that quieter, slower life.
Yeah.
How does that mesh with 2.5 million views on a reel? Like, how does that work?
Right.
You know, usually when someone is that kind of prolific online, then you're getting a busier life because there's more people talking to you, there's more people asking you questions. And how does that work?
Yeah, I guess that 2.5 million views, it was a 15-second video, and I can take my phone and set it aside for the rest of the day. And I loved being with kids and with adults. But man, is there something special about going into your little workshop by yourself, listening to your own podcasts, your own music, watching your own shows while you're sanding something, you know, like I can just be by myself with my own thoughts. And that kind of that slower pace mentally is such a welcomed thing in my life right now. It's I don't see the going viral on social media to be overwhelming because they're not all knocking on my door.
Fair.
They're not physically there. But at the same time, if you're choosing to become an artist, woodworker for a living, you do need those people waiting somewhere in the world for your content and for what you're building next. And I need them out there. I don't need them in the shop with me. So
does it apply more pressure to you? That's always been my worry too, is like, because right now I'm building with, like, I always tell people, like, you have to build in the dark to start.
Yeah.
Right. And there's going to be an undetermined amount of time in the dark.
Right.
Right. So building in the dark's one thing.
Yep.
Because you get to the point where you kind of don't expect anything and you just enjoy the process.
Yes.
But what happens when it suddenly does start to work? Do you have a new expectation of what's going to happen?
Yeah, I guess for me, so when I'm building something, things, and I'm being modest here but also giving you facts, things sell fast and it's great. Like, I don't even know how it happens.
Yeah.
You know, it's shocking every time still. You know, for example, for a reclaimed feather that I build, it's now a lottery that I do for people to be able to buy it.
That's incredible.
So it's like drawing a name and this is yours you get to pay me for it. You win.
That's cool.
You know, which is great, but there's pressure with that in terms of, shoot, like if 150 people put their name in for that, I should be building 150 feathers, you know? And that pressure of like, people get disappointed when they don't get the one that they've fallen in love with because can't build fast enough for them, you know?
Yeah.
So there is that pressure of, you know, I get the message of, oh, I'd like to order this from you. And I have to say, oh, sorry, I it doesn't really work like that. Like, maybe you'll get a custom spot when I open those, but you might just have to hang out for a while and wait for a post. And, you know, like I feel bad saying to them, sorry, I can't build for you right now.
Yeah.
I get messages like that daily, right? So there is that pressure of letting people down if I'm not building fast enough. So
I think the pressure, especially as an artist, the pressure of creating art, that's a different kind of pressure, right? Like, do you find that? Do you find like, especially when there's more pressure on like, I really want this. Now you feel like you have to do your absolute best.
Yes, because you should almost not be doing it with pressure, because then it's not going to be your best work, in my opinion.
Well, you even said like, I want to do this slowly because that gives me my best work.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's nice. I have great clients that have used, that I've built for. I don't think I've ever had someone that said, well, I need it by this time, or if they do need it by a certain time, they give me months notice, right? So I've never been rushed, I don't think. So yeah, because I don't think I would perform under that pressure of like, ooh, I need to build this quick. It just wouldn't be my best work.
Yeah.
You need to kind of just let it happen. I'm sure a painter would say the same, a sculptor, like if you're going to rush a potter, right? It's not going to be symmetrical.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
So
I love that because often creativity gets viewed as a commodity sometimes. And it's just like, oh, I want to buy this, right? You just buy that, right? When creativity is not an on and off switch. And it's very temperamental.
Yes.
Right?
But here's my question for you.
Sure.
If you're trying to make a living from being creative, sometimes you have to be like, okay, Jacquie, you've spent enough time on this piece. You don't have to redo that whole section, it is great.
I've coached enough creatives to know now that there are 2 layers that you need to have as a creative. Right? So your first layer, when you get known for something, you're really good at it, and you can usually do it with your eyes closed.
Right.
And that becomes your commercial avenue.
Right.
Right. That's where you get paid to show up and do that specific thing. And usually you can do it really well, no matter what the pressure.
Okay.
And then it just comes down to a question of, pricing and all that fun stuff, right? Often creatives will not have that second channel, which is a really important one. And that's the exploration channel.
Yep.
Like this podcast is literally an exploration channel. As we want to create something, like I don't tell the guys how to light the set. They do that, right? And I don't tell them how to set it up. I show up, I showed up an hour before you. Yeah. And it's like I'm walking into this and this is all done. Right. And it's weird because I've always had the control over that. And so letting go of that is really, really hard.
Letting them be creative.
Exactly.
As well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other aspect of this is like there are 2 competing things that we need to be aware of, and we've already talked about perfection, but it's also good enough too. So never let good enough become the enemy of perfection.
Okay.
Right? Or vice versa.
Yep.
So you want to make sure that the work you're doing passes your test of this is what I want to go out, but understand that sometimes you just don't have enough time to do it. Because I know for me, I would spend hours and hours and hours tweaking these little things that no one's ever going to see.
Right.
Right. And so by getting to the point going, okay, you know what? Ship it.
Yeah.
Right. That's shipping it is the most important part. Right. So then give yourself the space to ship it in a smart manner, but don't necessarily, spend your time stressing over the shipping part. Right. So yeah. I think that's kind of where I come from on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
Well, because especially in the slow life is often synonymous with creativity because creatives love to do that and educators love to do that. And I find, especially in our own family right now, we're starting to want to go back to simpler times.
Yes.
We talk about owning a farm. We talk about having land that we can just kind of grow gardens on.
You
and
like to garden, yeah.
Right. We just started canning and it's stuff like that. I know, right? It's we're going full homestead.
Yeah.
But it's this to me when I was younger was the thing that I ran away from. I was we grew up in the middle of nowhere. It was it was countryside, and I wanted everything to get into the busyness of the city and then all that and the busyness of life. But now as I grow older, I'm just I just want that. Just give me simple, right? Give me one thing. And so I have 2 kind of main focus this year, and that's simplifying it down.
Okay.
Right? And breaking it down. So my window of tolerance is naturally shrinking, but I think it's becoming more refined. It's I know what this feels like to do this, and I don't want to do this.
Are you shrinking it on purpose?
Probably a little bit, because I think I broadened my window too broad.
Yeah.
And so I was burnt out last year. So I mean, I think that was and it sucks that it takes burnout trauma to actually change the way that we are.
Yeah.
Right. Because I just wish we could just turn on and just change.
Yes.
Just be you know what, I'm doing that.
Right.
Let's go.
But if we circle back to if someone told you, it's like telling our kids, do it this way, or else it's going to be wrong. If we let you fail, do we learn from it?
Exactly.
Do you go through trauma and learn from it?
Yeah.
Everyone has their own trauma. Everyone goes through something at some point.
Yep.
My trauma is no greater than your trauma. But yeah, can you take things from it and make choices because of it? Yeah.
Yeah. It just shapes us to who we are. And it becomes that perfectly imperfect kind of mindset, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The art that you do is very personal. So how do you lean into like that brand? How do you lean into that commercial side without losing yourself in that?
I think that is the joy of an artist, though. If you don't like my style of art, I'm not your person, don't ask me to do a custom order, right?
Yeah.
It's I don't think I can do it any differently, right? You have your style, and yes, I'm working on a collection right now where I'm kind of going out of the norm for me, doing a bit more abstract, that kind of thing. More so just for me, just to be creative and see if I like it, you know? So, but it's still very much a lumberjack piece.
Yeah.
And I think it's the materials that make it look like that. I also think it's the way that I sand edges that makes it very distinct to a lumberjack piece. I don't know if I know how to make something look different.
Yeah.
Like it's very, very lumberjack-y,
Yeah. Would you get back into education with your work and like become a bit more of like a woodwork educator?
Yeah, I've had the odd person say, like, can I please just come and work with you? Like, I'll pay you. If I can just spend a day with you and build alongside you, you can teach me a few things, and teach me how to use a certain tool and, kind of that whole, art or painting and wine or whatever those evenings are called that people do. Yes, I've had a lot of people ask for that kind of thing. I don't know. It seems like a lot of liability in terms of power tools and, like
I was say power tools, paintbrushes, two different things.
So a lot of people have asked that. The idea of going into classrooms and doing a quick project with a class would be really neat.
Shop class?
Yeah. So it's, again, the educator in me is always going to be there. It's funny though, how my kids, are not really that interested in like, come out and do this with me. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's like, it's funny how they're not too invested in it yet, but
because you have a full awareness of time now, but it's surprising to me that they don't. Because of that. And I guess that's the joy of being young, right? It's just like you're kind
being
of
naive and
kind of blinded by, that to start with, right? So, because I always feel that when you're young, it's so just you, and then as it grows, it becomes more like the community, the people around you, your family and all that. And it's like, you become fully aware.
Yes. I do think though that, speaking of my kids and I do think that they have become more empathetic people because of watching what I went through. I remember a moment where I was in bed resting and I could hear the little feet of like my 3-year-old coming like, Mama, and my older child stopping him and saying, no, and I could hear them in the hallway and he would say, no, Mom has to rest right now. And the little 3, and the older one being like, no, like she's feeling kind of sick. So let's go do this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what 8-year-old knows to take their little sibling away from mom for that time, right? Like that's
pretty incredible.
Not normal, right? For an 8-year-old to be that perceptive of the situation. Same with, taking him to a grocery store while I was ill. He would just naturally, he figured out like, oh, if she wants that case of water, I have to lift it for her, So just knowing, that she needs our help. And I think they become more empathetic because of it. Or, they'll see a woman without hair and it won't be like shocking to them. Like, oh my gosh, it's more so, I know exactly what she's going through. And, and they just feel empathy for people that are going through things now, naturally.
Do you find you have that moment, when you lock eyes with someone and a whole conversation happens in an instance? Do you ever find you have that with people in the grocery store, for example, like where you can see they're actively going through chemo, just like catch eyes with them and they see you and you see them?
Yeah, I don't ever remember it. I mean, I've run into cancer patients at the cancer center while I was getting treatment, and I was, 35 at the time, and I was the young one in there for a lot. And I remember the looks from older people being like, "What are you doing in here?" But now it's interesting. I had an episode at a grocery. Everything happens at a grocery store, right? Where there was a woman, and obviously a cancer patient, with a maybe 11-year-old boy with her child. And honestly, Ash, I had to turn my cart around and I had to go into an empty aisle because I thought I was going to lose it. Like I thought I was going to just melt down. It was that flashback. It was like it slapped me in the face. The idea of I know exactly what she's going through. And that 11-year-old was the one taking the stuff out of the cart, putting it on the, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like watching my story happen right in front of me. And like, I never would have gone up to her. I would have lost it. She didn't need that at that time. But watching that boy being like, that was my son. And that kid is going to be the coolest kid because he's learning to take care of someone that he loves at such a young age. And he'll be a better person for it, But oh my gosh, that was a bit traumatic, It just, I had to turn. Like literally 180, go to an empty aisle and just don't cry in the grocery store. Don't cry in the grocery store.
It's like you're walking through a mantra at that point to keep yourself in check, right?
Yeah.
So I feel that those moments kind of shock us back into reminding. Did you find that afterwards? Did you find you were kind of like, God, I'm lucky, or this, or whatever? What was like the prevalent emotion post that? Because usually there's like those little triggers that happen and then just like realigns.
Yeah. It's interesting because I will say to my husband, "Oh, it wasn't that bad. Like we got through those couple years just fine." And he'll look at me like, "You don't remember all of it,
Like, are you gaslighting me?"
Yeah. Like, and is that a coping mechanism? Have I blocked out some of those moments that were so bad?
Yeah.
Because in my brain, I'm thinking we did it, like that was like we did pretty good. And he's like, "You don't remember the multiple hospital visits, the emergencies, the blood transfusions, the month-long hospital stay, the FaceTiming with your kids and hanging up and thinking, am I going to be able to talk to them tomorrow? Is this my last day? Like it's funny how I've blocked all of that out. So, but then you have moments like that in the grocery store where you see it like it's watching yourself and it hits you like, oh man, I do remember going through that. And how, I often talk about feeling guilty for my children, that they had to go through that with me. Kids should just be kids, right? I couldn't parent them the way I would have liked to. Luckily, I had an army of people around me. My best friend lives right next door, and she became more of a mother figure to my 3-year-old at the time. We would go outside, and I would have to sit down. I was exhausted, right? And she would grab him, and he would follow her around, and they'd go in the garden and do weeding, and then she'd take him to the garage for something, and he would just be her shadow. And I'd sit there and I'd be like, that should be me, So I felt guilty, but luckily they had great people around them. We had their grandparents move in, and my in-laws parked their trailer behind my house and lived on our property so that when my kids woke up in the morning, they could go outside to the trailer and see grandma and papa, So we had support, but it was always that guilty feeling of I'm not giving them the mother that they should have in that time. Did they survive? Yes, they're fine. Yeah. They're lovely children now. But in that moment, you're like, oh, you did not have to go through that. And yet you did. And yeah.
How were you accepting help prior?
Terrible. Ash.
Were you really good at being like, I can muscle through this by myself?
Yeah. More so. I never wanted people to feel obligated. So
why is that, do you think?
I don't know. I guess it is that whole just a strong personality and everything else that I've done, I've sort of just done it by myself. And the idea of someone feeling like they had to bring us food, and it was like, oh, I feel like, how can I say thank you multiple times, feeling bad that they didn't feel appreciated for it. So it was just easier if they just didn't do it, And my husband often saying like, okay, just accept that. Like, people want to help,
Yeah.
So it's funny now that I have friends who are going through cancer, and all I want to do is help.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh shoot, it's
It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
Because I find I struggle to ask for help, and often saying thank you can be really hard, because then it's admitting that I needed the help to start with.
For sure.
Because I like to think of myself as very capable and I can do this, and and when you're doing something bigger than yourself, you have to get help.
Yeah.
Like you have, and whether it be, basically healing from like, a horrible disease all the way to being a healthy human, or, building a company or running XYZ. You always need to have that moment where you're like, I probably should have asked for help sooner.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I find that's a really hard thing to do.
Yep.
And like, I know when we started this, we talked about doing, and I was like, well, let's try and keep it the low key version. We'll put 2 mics, 2 cameras, or 3 cameras in the studio. And if I can have it so I can just run it, then I don't need to bug people for that, or I don't need to do it. And it's like, but then when the realization that you need the help to make it to where you want it to be, you have to have that help. And to get that help is so humbling.
Yeah.
It's honestly really hard to accept to start.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's just like, you kind of shake your head at yourself and you're like, man, I'm here and I'm part of this, and I don't have control of that, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny how maybe you would have seen that as defeat at the start, needing to ask for help. But really, does it actually show growth? And does it show, for example, for woodworking, I make one really big seasonal item. It's Christmas trees. They're kind of my, it's that big burst of sales at Christmas time. And usually I would make all the stands for these Christmas trees. And I ended up hiring someone to make the stands because I needed help. If I wanted to make the quantity that I wanted to have, I knew I couldn't do it by myself, right?
Yeah.
Or same with, my least favorite part of finishing an art piece is actually framing it. So having someone create the frame for me once in a while takes that off my plate. I can actually do more then, because I'm not spending half a day trying to frame something beautifully. So is that asking for help in the long run actually making myself better? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
love that. I want to say thank you.
Sure.
Because this has been fantastic. I love your story. I love your art. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the viewers? Like, have you got any kind of things that you're promoting right now, or?
Not necessarily. Again, though, if my business name is Lumberjacq, if people are looking for me, my website is lumberjacq.ca, but my name is spelt with a CQ. So Lumberjacq is spelt with a CQ, Jacq at the end. You can find me on social media. And if you just search Lumberjacq with a CQ, I'll usually pop up. I'm just so grateful that you felt I was important enough to, have this time with you. So,
well, you're just inspired. That's the reason we actually have a documentary coming out on you too this year.
Okay.
Right. And so that's going to be fun to reveal that to the world too.
Yeah. It's, that's been such a neat experience, a whole other creative part to, this world that all of a sudden I'm sitting in. And it's been such a journey. Who would have thought, 10 years ago when I was teaching math class, and someone says, actually, you're going to be a woodworker and a content creator, and, let's put you on a podcast too. No.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
It's those
Who would have thought?
shakubuku moments where it's like a sudden spiritual kick to the head, right?
Yeah.
It's like, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing right now. And how did I get here?
A little spiritual shove.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.